Well, the death toll is 62. We are told that more than 170 have been injured. The battle is still on at the Westgate Mall in Nairobi, Kenya. And that is a standoff between assailants and government security forces.
They shall not get away with their despicable and beastly acts. Like the cowardly perpetrators now cornered in the building, we will punish the masterminds swiftly and indeed very painfully.
Kenyan president sounding that caution to those involved in that heinous crime, but Al-Shabaab says it took up the attack because Kenya is sending troops to Mali. This is today's big story. And on Saturday, a Somali-based terrorist group called Al-Shabaab attacked a Kenyan mall which claimed over 60 lives, including that of Ghana's former chairman of the Council of State, Professor Awuno, who we're told was killed in that attack. And of course, a lot of issues being out there. But what has been the fallout from what happened in the Kenyan capital? We'll be speaking to the security expert to tell us exactly what lessons Ghana can draw from this tonight, right here on The Big Story.
Born on March 13, 1935, Professor Kofi Awuno, a Ghanaian poet and author whose work combined the poetic tradition of his native Ewe people and contemporary and religious symbolism to depict Africa during decolonization. He wrote his first poetry book, Rediscovery, based on African oral poetry. He also managed the Ghanaian Film Corporation and founded the Ghana Playhouse. From 1990 to 1994, Professor Awuno was Ghana's ambassador to the United States, where he headed the Committee Against Apartheid. He was also a former chairman of the Council of State. Professor Awuno was in Nairobi as a guest speaker at an international literary conference hosted in East African country. His death has been a sudden shock to the family and the country as a whole. Although our cameras were not allowed into his North Legon residence, the mood at his home was solemn. Family members, friends, and some senior citizens were seen around in mourning clothes to sympathize with the widow. A relative, Professor Anyidohu, spoke to Joy News.
We have heard that something has happened. The family has just met, and as would normally be done in such cases, we are sending a delegation to Nairobi this evening. We expect them back by Wednesday. So we plan for a follow-up meeting Tuesday in the afternoon. If it is confirmed for us, at that point, we will be in a position to put out a formal statement on behalf of the family.
He also confirmed that the son of Professor Awuno, Apeti Awuno, who was also injured in the shootout, has been discharged from hospital.
The son is okay. I personally spoke to him last night, so he's all right. He's not in hospital. A family member there has taken him home, so he's okay. He spoke to all his brothers today.
Professor Awuno, 78, left behind 6 children and a wife. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Right, so Professor Awuno there, who was killed in that attack. Let me take you to the Westgate Mall in Kenya, a live feed from there, where we're told that government security forces are engaging the assailants in a battle. We're told that government police have completely taken over all floors of the Westgate Mall, and now we're told also that evacuation has completely been done. All hostages have been freed. A report coming in from Kenya is indicating that at least some 10 people have been arrested for questioning, while 2 of the militants have been killed by security forces. And you can see the road linking the mall to the rest of Nairobi there. And some calm seem to have returned there earlier this morning when government forces engaged the militants in a battle that resulted in smoke billowing out of the mall. For now, calm, we're told, has been returned. 10 people arrested for questioning, 2 of the militants killed. But government is assuring that the police have taken over all floors of the mall and almost every hostage in there has been evacuated from the Westgate Mall. And we're told 1 more militant has been killed, 3 of them now, currently 3 of them killed, and 10 more people arrested for question. We'll be getting more of the live feed from Kenya right here on today's Big. So we'll be speaking to the security analyst. What lessons can Ghana draw? What does it mean for security in West African sub-region? Terrorism activity in the sub-region beginning to rear its ugly heads. We'll try and find out what lessons we can draw. But first of all, let's listen to the Kenyan President, Uhuru Kenyatta, who has vowed to arrest everyone involved in this attack.
Outcome has not been ideal, but I am satisfied that our disciplined forces have responded in a professional and effective manner as the circumstances have allowed. I also ask Kenyans to remember that these officers are putting their lives on the line for the greater good. Therefore, give them due consideration and prayer. The Al-Shabaab terror group have claimed responsibility for this cowardly act of terror on social media. However, investigations are underway to conclusively establish those responsible for this mayhem so that we can have full accountability. They shall not get away with their despicable and beastly acts. Like the cowardly perpetrators now cornered in the building, we will punish the masterminds swiftly and indeed very painfully.
The Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta there addressing the large Kenyan population and telling them that government is ready to engage and arrest everyone who is involved in that attack. But let me once again take you to Kenya, the live feed from the Westgate Mall. And we're told that just around the Westgate Mall, other malls dotted around. So that area is quite open to a lot of activity. The Al-Shabaab says that it attacked the more because Kenya has sent its troops to Somalia, and it is warning to continue its attacks. Government says it is ready. We're told that 3 of the militants have been killed and 10 more people have been arrested for questioning in connection with the attack that took place 3 days ago. 62 deaths officially confirmed by the Kenyan Interior Ministry. 170 people, we're told, have been injured. And as now, Kenyan government is confirming that every floor of the mall is being taken over by the police, and almost every hostage has been freed there. And so the militants are being chased. Earlier, information trickling in indicated that the militants were escaping through hostages who were released from the mall there. And as I said, we'll be drawing lessons from what happened in Kenya, and we'll be speaking to experts while we try and establish contact with some Kenyan journalists also in Kenya, Nairobi, to tell us exactly what the situation is now. But we're told that helicopters are still flying over the mall, whilst government forces have completely taken over every floor of the mall there. But a lot more of you have been talking to us about this incident in Kenya, how safe Ghana is when it comes to terrorist attacks. Let's listen. We'll get back onto the phone lines.
It's quite extreme this time around, you know. The assumption is that Muslims are barbaric. So if by a demonstration you are doing these things, the Muslim community should come to debunk these perceptions that Muslims are. But each time you hear these groups, they are formations from the Islamic religions. And that is bad. The religion itself doesn't say so. Islam means peace.
But do you think they can attack Ghana?
They can attack Kenya. Because they have done that to US. They are moving to Kenya. Ghana, if we don't also strengthen our security borders and we have anything easier to do, then they can take us on.
I don't think so. Ghana is a different country. It's different from Kenya, so I don't think something can happen in Ghana.
But if in case they should come to Ghana and attack us, what do you think Ghanaians should do?
Well, they should become, but I pray something will not happen in Ghana.
To prepare very well, and then see our security service should be very, very alert, and maybe all our entry points should be very, very tight. Maybe keep listening to outsiders or somewhere, contact everywhere where maybe there should be a information.
It can be possible, it cannot also be, because as Ghanaian, we are peaceful, loving people. So I don't think Ghanaians can behave.
But in case Ghanaians are being attacked?
Okay, in case, that's why we have our military, our security men, they're supposed to do something about it.
But
you're saying that when a neighbor's house is on fire, your home, is in your house, leaving the house on fire. So I think our military has to be online because they are militants, and to us, we're a country, they can shoot me anytime.
We'll be getting the security expert to tell us what lessons we can draw. But let me speak to an international relations expert, Professor Kate Blue. Now, Prof, good, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, this is certainly not good news for the West African sub-region and Africa in general when it comes to efforts at fighting terrorism. Hello, Professor Blue.
Hello. Oh, are you speaking to me?
Right. Professor Blue, can you hear me?
Yeah, speak on.
Right. Thank you so much for joining me.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Now, the attack that took place 3 days ago, certainly this is not good news for the West African sub-region, Africa in general, and perhaps even the whole world in efforts at fighting terrorism.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Prof, go ahead.
Yes.
Prof, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as I can see, it's something like a wake-up call to our intelligence community, the National Security Council and the intelligence community, to start doing some homework, preparing for just the ultimate that it may happen here. It's important that all as the Nigerian president put it on BBC a few hours ago, that all African countries and indeed all leaders of the world should now sit up and begin to work a common reaction to this new development. It's not just a question of one state, but we all stand in danger of this kind of situation anytime. And so I would think that, in fact, our intelligence community should be, by now, putting heads together to link up with other Africans, particularly our immediate neighbors, including Nigeria, to see what common response we can prepare to offer in case it happens close to us or on us here.
Right. Now, if you say leaders should begin to sit up, it suggests that there was some kind of slumber. Now, after September 11, isn't the world now more alert than it used to be?
hope. No, I think that the West is still on the alert. They are still on the alert. You see that several subsequent attempts have been foiled. And what Mr. Snowden's revelations have revealed, the Americans are not sleeping over it at all. And I think that here in Africa, we mustn't think that these things are far off from us. It could be any day. But look at Kenya. It's true Kenya shares common borders with the Al-Shabaab people. But if you look at Niger and Mali and Nigeria, what prevents them from jumping on any other country, Togo or Cote d'Ivoire or Ghana? So there ought to be some sharing of intelligence, some common platform, some plan for common action, in which all of them together will push and combat any such misfortune.
Do you subscribe to attacking these terrorist groups, or you think that we should engage them more in arriving at finding solutions to our differences?
Well, my view has always been that it's about time that the world leaders begin to engage Islam, because all these people, all these various groups are talking about pointing to a quest by Islam for world dominance. What kind of new situation is this? But you know, when you talk to mainstream Muslims, you find that they disagree with them. One lady came on BBC this afternoon to say that what they are doing, what the Al-Shabaab is doing, is not Muslim at all. It's not Islamic at all. Because in Islam, you do this only in war. But even in war, you don't kill women, you don't kill children, you don't kill elderly people. War is a fight between two strong men. This was what the lady said, and I agree with her. I sympathize with her. And so she's saying what these people are doing, they have their own agenda. But we see that this is always wrapped up in the clothes of Islam. So the world leaders should not begin to question Islam leaders, but they should try to find out what the origins of these movements are and what exactly is their purpose.
Right. Professor,
are they being motivated by the Quran, or is it some secular Quran Islamism? You see, we have to know. And I think it's about time that the world leaders engage Islam in a dialogue over this. Professor, it's not enough for Islamic leaders to denounce them. Because every one of them, every single one of such uprisings speaks or claims they belong to Islam and that they are fighting a cause for Islam. You see,
right.
So it's not enough for the leaders
to denounce them.
Just
right.
sit back.
Right. Professor Blue, kindly hold the line for me. Let me also speak to the Executive Director of the West African Network for Peace Building, Dr. Emmanuel Bombande, who's just joined this discussion. Now, Dr. Bombande, if you look at what has happened in Kenya, what lessons can we draw the continent and Ghana, especially in efforts at containing terrorism?
Well, thank you so much, and good evening to Professor and your viewers. The first thing is that no country can fight terrorist acts alone. And so we have to redefine our capacity of engagement within the framework of regional cooperation. And it is for this reason you see that West Africa is doing much better. I'm not saying that we are better off, but our response capacity is much better than the Horn of Africa and the East Africa community, precisely because we have clearly defined in an ECOWAS framework how collectively we must respond to these threats.
Right.
Whilst in the other regions, you don't see that happening. And secondly, our understanding of this issue is critical to the way then we respond. Because do not forget that they are driven by the fundamentalist ideology that generates the type of hatred, which then is perpetuated with the ruthlessness you see. Now, Islam is the convenient excuse for now in the context of Somalia.
Right.
But the problem is a political one, and it needs to be solved at the political level, not just at the level of religion.
Right. So you share the same view as Professor Bluey, that indeed we need to engage the leaders of the Islamic world, but not to blame them for what is happening.
No. First of all, if you are talking about the leaders of the Islamic world, all of them are in total unity in the condemnation of fundamentalist Islam and extremist Islam. And so you must understand that the people who are doing what they are doing are only using the name of Islam, but they are not doing it because they are Muslim. They are doing it because it's a convenient way of the divide that they can bring to people across nations. And they are doing it on the bedrock of a political response, but the convenient language is to call themselves Islam. But the world leaders that are Islamic are in total disagreement with this. And that's why you have to put it in a political framework and not in the religious dimension. Because in the religious dimension, we'll miss it completely.
No, so if, from what you're saying, why is it that, for instance, what happened in Kenya, Al-Shabaab says it is not ready to engage the Kenyan government? What exactly were they then looking for?
Because the extremist ideology does not leave room for any form of engagement. They went in to destroy lives. And that is the purpose. And they are prepared to do that in killing themselves in order to kill others. Now, the political engagement happens when that is so deeply understood. And I say it without any hesitation, that for far too long, the East African countries were indifferent to the development of Al-Shabaab in Somalia, up to the point that Al-Shabaab became a monster. And I would even argue that it could have been 10 times worse than we are seeing it, had it not been for the mobilization that eventually saw the African Union intervening under AMISOM. Because if they had taken Somalia as a state, the agenda was not just East Africa. It was to spread and link up with their West African counterparts, and that would have been 10 times worse. And that's why I say that the political engagement must define the type of framework to increase regional cooperation at the regional level and at the continental level, so that we approach this from a human security approach and not just a counter-terrorism approach. Because the supposed counter-terrorism measures have never worked.
What signal does it send to Ghana? Precisely now, we send troops to Mali, and the United States is using our airport in some of these operations. Is a signal bad from where you're sitting?
I read into the meaning of the statement you have just made, and I want to be as brief and clear as possible. It is not whether we are engaging in the fight against this violent extremism that will be spared, or whether we decide not to engage, that will be spared. So it's very, very important for your viewers to understand that if we sit in Ghana and say that let's not do anything, because if we do anything, somebody would say that we are supporting the fight against terrorism, and that's the way we would then be spared, then we would have been making the biggest mistake. Because the agenda of violent extremism and terrorism does not respect a border. And the ideology does not only use people of a particular country. In Kenya, they are talking about citizens of different countries that have come together under Al-Shabaab. So that's the first point. And to that extent, therefore, you need to engage them before they even come to your doorstep. And so the decision about supporting the collective ECOWAS effort in Mali is very important. But if we say that we will not go and support, we will be here when they will knock on our doors and start attacking us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel Bombandi, Executive Director of the West African Network for Peace Building. Let me also wrap up with Professor Keith Blue. Now, Professor Blue, now, is this a signal? Now, we're told, for instance, that several countries might have lost representatives in the Kenyan attack. Now, by way of international relations, how should Kenya handle this?
Oh, well, you know, Kenya is just the recipient of this, the attack of the Al-Shabaab people. It's not anything that Kenya is not the cause of it.
Right.
Kenya is just a target. Their target is the whole world. That's how I see it. They have to start from somewhere. And they use the alibi of Kenya's forward role in trying to bring peace to their own country as pretext to attack Kenya. So I don't think that Kenya, we should expect anything special in the form of what? From Kenya. Rather, the whole world should go to run to the support of Kenya to overwhelm this situation and to resettle victims of this act.
Right. Professor, before you go, we lost our own Professor Awuno. How well do you know Professor Awuno?
Pardon me?
I'm asking that we lost our own Professor Awuno in that attack. How well do you know him as an academician?
Yeah, you see, you cannot put the blame on the Kenyan government. If he was there as a guest of the, even if he was there as a guest of the Kenyan government, it was just one big misfortune. They will do their best to repatriate the body. That's all. But you see, already the burning of that place, and believe me, very many Kenyans are among the Kenyans are the largest number of the victims so far, according to the BBC report. So many people have come to say that their relations have were affected or have died or were still inside the building and that kind of thing. So Kenya's losses are far more than the losses of any other countries, individual country.
Right.
So we mustn't expect Kenya anything like compensation or recompense from Kenya itself.
Right. We're wrapping up this.
And Kenya and help them overcome the grief. Yes.
Right. We're wrapping up this interview. Earlier, I was asking you, Professor Awuno, how well do you know him? How would you remember him?
Oh, well, I knew not very much. You know, he's in the area of literary things, poetry, writing, and so on. I know him as an outstanding writer and so on, and a good politician for that matter. But I've not had any direct personal relations with him. But for all I know, this untimely demise is a big loss to our nation. And no wonder, look at the tributes that are flowing from all corners of this country. You know, so that's all. So I think that I know the government is going to move, take a move and get the body repatriated home, and we'll give him the last respect and give him a fitting burial. That's all.
Thank you so much for speaking to me. Professor Keith Blue is an international relations expert talking on today's big story. We're told that 62 are killed. That's according to the Kenyan Interior Ministry. Over 170 injured. But we're told currently that government forces have secured the Westgate Mall and they have taken over every floor. And we're told 3 militants killed, 10 people arrested for questioning. That is the state of the Westgate attack in Nairobi, Kenya. That has been today's big story. We have more the second segment, interactive segment that talks about you, and Marian will be joining me very soon to deal with that. Stay right there. I'm coming back in a moment.